Is here. What I have to tell you about the Royale, what I love about the Royale is, and I would say, if this is a matter of opinion, but I would say I'm pretty accurate on this opinion, and that is, Lowrey has introduced. I've been with Fletcher Music Centers since '93. Lowrey has introduced, um, I would say, at least 10, maybe more, flagship models over the years in my career. And I can probably almost accurately say this model has probably influenced more models in my 26 years than any other ones that I've seen. And here's what I mean by that is every time there's a flagship model that's introduced, there's always new features and new sounds and things like that. And you could say that about any top of the line model. However, what I can say about the Royale is when this model came out, and I look at the latest one that came out a year ago or a couple of years ago, was the Aria, the most expensive organ in the world. And I look at it over time. What I've noticed is that a lot of the features on those models are features that this model has, just more of them. So when you talk about the touch screen, the interactive touch screen, the way the presets work, the way the styles work, the way the category presets work. Now, the way the song setups work on the screen. Now, does an aria or legacy, an encore, or any other organ have song setups? Yes, but this is where it started. Does the aria have more song setups? Yeah, of course it does. But they work the same in the function. So even the most expensive top-of-the-line models that we've had, a lot of the functionality was really as a result of this model and when it was introduced. So I'm going to start off with one of my favorite styles on here. And this is a style simply labeled Vegas Big Band. It's just a great big band style. I'm going to take you back in time before your time. You may know the name Tommy Dorsey. If you don't know the name, your mom and dad may have told you who that guy is. And Gene Krupa, and I know these are musicians way before your time here, right? So listen to this. And when you hear this, I'm going to do the touch bar and bring in the fill-in. I'm going to do it two different ways. One way is going to make it do a fill-in like Buddy Rich is playing the drums. And the other way is going to be like Gene Krupa. Listen, I'll point it out when I get there. Okay, that's Buddy Rich. And here comes Gene Krupa. Oh, thank you. The crowd applause. Good. Oh my goodness, stop it, stop it. So that was a style called the Vegas Big Band, and by using the drum variation on this model, it allows me to do, in that case, it brings in either Buddy Rich or Gene Krupa, and that also changes according to all the styles. But when you step back here and just kind of take a look at it from a distance, you're going to find that this is actually the same size as all of our flagship models. This cabinet, by the way, was one of the last cabinets that were made from a manufacturer that Lowrey used for many, 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 many years. I don't remember the name of the company. What I do know, it was, I think, in Michigan, somewhere.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sarge. Sarge. Trying to let you mute you. Oh, we lost you. You must have to take a phone call. Um, so the this cabinet, I believe the manufacturer was in Michigan, and they were known for really good, solid um, furniture in the wood cabinets. And you notice this one here is an oak, and they also had the actual cherry wood cabinets. And back when we had our recession in 2008, that company unfortunately went out of business, and it forced Lowrey to have to make their other models from different companies that never got it exactly the same way that this company did. But you notice here, you may or may not be able to in the screen there, but like this instrument here, for example, the oak, you could actually see the grains in this. Just absolutely gorgeous the way the style of the cabinet is. The other thing from a distance as well is because of this style of cabinet being open like this, like all flagship models, has a total of 15 speakers in the instrument. Now, most people think 15 speakers means a lot louder. It's not necessarily the case, unless that's the intent of the player. Having that many speakers does a lot for people, for your ears. Everybody has different hearing. And as we age, our hearing changes. Would you agree, Carol? Yeah? How about you, Dee? Dee Vincent? Does your hearing change a little bit over the years? And who is that gentleman next to you? Let me unmute you there.
This is Vince.
Hi.
Vince. So it's Dee and Vincent?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's why this. Okay, I thought the name was Dee Vincent. Okay, so it's Dee and Vincent.
My name is Dee Vincent, and his is Vince Vincent.
Oh my
His name
goodness.
is
Oh,
His name is Percy, but we
wow,
call
that
him
makes it easy, or it might make it harder. I may call you Dee by accident because your
D Percy.
picture's showing up right next to the name Dee. But, okay, but what is a fact is our hearing changes over the years. Sometimes we lose hearing, sometimes we lose frequencies. Everybody's different. What I've heard and know is that as we age, commonly, not all, commonly men tend to lose the highs and women tend to lose the lows. So a lot of times what will happen is females that play tend to sometimes turn up the bass because they lose that frequency. Now again, this is not across the board, but I've had it actually happen where a student came to me once and said his bottom keyboard was not working. And I went out to the house and I played it, and what I discovered was he was playing the marches. And the marches always put a piccolo here. Now piccolos are a very high sound. He could not hear that frequency. So my point in all this is the speaker system works, having that many speakers works for the person sitting here. I can actually turn on or off and channel how much sound I want coming out of here. So before I joined this meeting today, what I did is I turned up my speakers on the monitor so I could really hear it here. And then that way I was able to turn it down on the system so that way it came through your side okay. The other thing you'll notice is we have two full keyboards, two 61-note keyboards. What that allows us to do is play our melody on the top at our full range as needed. And on the bottom here, I don't know if you could see this here, but when I have that style on, okay, any sound that I have on the bottom, I actually have 2.5 octave range to play with here. So you're going to see me playing from time to time going here. You're going to notice I have a 2.5 octave range to play. And here's how keyboard is designed here. This is a right-hand melody keyboard that goes from here, that works like it would work in this range. Most people play their melody in this range, so this bottom keyboard works like it's from here to here. So I have two keyboards. Now I know some of you are familiar with that. If you have a Legacy, you have a second keyboard here, but this last octave is missing here. And I know, Carol, you had it once on the Easy 4. Wasn't as user-friendly as it should have been, but it was there. And now they've actually given us the two full keyboards, and you're going to hear me play some of that. Now, one of the most magnificent things about the Lowrey instruments, as many people know, is the fact that we have lots of presets. Now, when this instrument was introduced, they went all out and gave us as many presets that we could have at our fingertips, and the screen will always tell us what's there. So, we have on the dash here, we have what's called A, B, C, D, and E. That represents 10 presets per button that are programmed automatically for you. The Legacy has an A and a B. The Encore, I believe, has an A. And what that means is you can customize or just use the ones that are there, up to 50 different presets that are built into the instrument. So if I push this to the factory presets, A gives us 10 great traditional Lowrey organ sounds. B gives us what they call 10 great Hammond type sounds. C is perfect for those who might want some of the more traditional pipe organ sounds. So we have sounds like this. So just a great church organ sounds. D gives us what's called the symphonic orchestral sound. So we have, now I reached over here. You're going to see me touching a button from time to time. I don't know if you could see it right here. When I press that button, the screen comes up in the window, and it tells me all the sounds that are on these presets. So number 1 says piano concerto, violin concerto, horn concerto, chamber strings, cello, fill strings, forte strings, finale strings. I'll just play a few of these. I'm just going to touch piano. Some big sounds there, some piano concertos, horn sounds, you name it, just some gorgeous sounds. And everything I press, the screen is telling me what's there. If I push the theater button, it tells me all these beautiful theater sounds that you would find at Radio City Music Hall. And then the other categories that you have, some of you have country, big band, and Latin. Every time I press that in this window, it tells me the sound, so I always get to see what's in the screen before I press it. So I don't have to push a preset and be surprised by the sound. And then there's a button that says more, and then in here there's 4 more categories of setups at your fingertips. I refer to presets like recipes in a cookbook. The difference with a recipe in a cookbook is you have to actually go out and buy the ingredients and cook the meal, and sometimes no matter how hard I try, it never works out right. This is kind of like a microwavable recipe book, only it always tastes great. In this case, it always sounds good. So you have each one of these has beautiful presets that are automatically at your fingertips. And when you press one of them, you get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 140 presets. And the screen will always tell you what's there, so you never guess what sound you're going to get. So really, in layman's terms, if you're able to read the screen, you'll know every sound that this instrument has at your fingertips. Now, I'm going to come back over to the fun box. Well, it's the fun box for me, because this is where all the magic happens. 99% of the students we introduce at Fletcher Music Centers start off with very little or no music ability. That's our most common student. Carol, I see you shaking your head. Were you like that? And most students are. You know, when we meet them for the first time, they'll say things like, there's no way you can teach me, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or I'm all thumbs. There's no way possible. I have no musical bones, and you name it. And then once we start playing one of our beginner's models, we start off with a rhythm, and with one finger, people start thinking, wait a second, I can do that. Well, that has always been the magic of recreational music making. And in fact, when Lowrey programmed this section here, they've taken the best of the best styles that you can ever imagine. Now, I know you're used to this because you have it on the Encore and the Legacy alike. The Easy 4s, every model has it, but some of the best styles are found on here. So for example, I started off with the big band category, and we have variation 1, 2, and when I push the 2 together, it says more, and I have 4 other variation buttons. So when I go over to the Broadway category, all of these new variations exist. Here's one of my favorite ones. It's called Soliloquy, and it has some of the most beautiful symphonic sounds you can imagine. And it's all done by the press of a button and a rhythm preset. Listen. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. Pretty. And of course, one of my favorite styles of music is Dixieland. Now, pay very close attention, because every time I pick a different style, the sounds that are automatically brought up are some of the new sounds that the instrument has. And they're very unique. So they don't use the same sound over and over. And then if I decide to choose my rhythm presets, I have rhythm preset 1 through 10. That's 11 setups for the top and the bottom. So that's 22 rhythm presets for the top and the bottom keyboard, no matter what style that I use. Now I'm going to go to fun. I talked about Dixieland. This is actually a Dixieland style. You might have heard this in the stores at one point in time. We don't tend to tell people a lot, hey, by the way, this is razzmatazz and this is what it does, and da-da-da-da, but you probably have heard this one a lot in the stores. It's called razzmatazz, and if you play a simple song like When the Saints Go Marching In, listen very closely. You're going to see my hands do this from time to time. You're going to notice that the fill-ins are all perfectly done, and it changes consistently. All right? Now listen. See if I can do this and pretend I'm playing the clarinet or brass. Here we go. you, thank you. Hold the applause, please, please. Oh, thank you. You're too much. You're too much. Now, before I forget, earlier I mentioned the styling of the cabinet, but yes, in case you're wondering, of course, it still has a beautiful roll top. All right. And what I also like is that this rack extender actually pulls out even closer than that of the Legacy or a lot of the other models. If I pull it out, it actually pulls out, I think it looks like about 6 inches. And then, of course, this allows us to bring it in or out however we want. You can very easily slide it in if you don't want to use it or you're done using it. Now, I did ask Lowrey when this came out, I said, that's pretty close because right now I'm only about 6 inches away from the music. And if I had music, can you get me a piece of music? That music book right there is fine. Joe, just don't put up to anything. Okay, here's a typical, here's a class book. Look at this. I am literally at eye level of the music. The way they made this rack extender, even the size of the instrument being a little bit taller or larger, they've designed it to get it as close as you possibly could without making it a chin rest. I guess they could get a little closer, but then your chin would be resting on it. That wouldn't be fun. And I still have the use of the entire instrument. And then when I'm done using the music, I just simply do that, slide it away if I wanted to. Or maybe, just maybe, I just pull on my side drawer here. Ooh. And slide my favorite music books here. Or if I don't want to use it for music books, I can put my martini here. That way I have one. Because they say when you drink, sometimes we always sound better when we have a few glasses of wine or something like that. Or at least I always sound better when I play them. No. But, it's got a little spot for a stirring stick or pencils for your notes on your music. And that actually, those drawers open up on both sides. The idea of that is there's never going to be a bench big enough to hold all of our music. Over time, you probably acquire a music book here and there, and pretty soon you think, wow, I got a lot of music books. And the bench is never going to be big enough to hold. But what's nice about having them in the bench here with the drawers, you can have your favorite books, the songs you're working on that week, handy and very easy. That's a little thing. A lot of people make jokes about me. What's the big deal? The bottom line is, the more you play and have fun making music, the better you get. People misunderstand the word practice versus rehearsing versus what I call just playing. Because I found that just playing songs and having fun, the more you play, the better you get. And the more you can do to make it easy for you to access your music, what have you, the last thing you want to do when you're sitting at the organ is have to get up, move the bench, walk across the room, or grab a book. So I make a big deal about that because to me that's important for a hobby player. So anyway, again, just some other beautiful things. The other thing you're going to notice on the touch bar here, first of all, Carol, you'll notice there's actually a touch bar. Now I know Dee and Vince, they know they have a touch bar. And the touch bar is great because you can easily, when you're playing a style, if you're wondering how I got the Gene Krupa earlier, or the Buddy Rich, I was using the touch bar or the foot switch, which does the fill-in or the FX. Now, some people can use the foot switch, but you know what happens when we try to use a foot switch. The volume tends to get crazy. We can't keep our foot straight. On here, they actually have, you may not be able to see it in that shot there, but there's a divider here, and there's a left and a right touch bar. You can actually program it up to 16 different ways. Now, you won't program it 16 different ways. You'll program it what's fitting. So, for example, on the touch bar, I can do the fill-in or the FX on the left. I can do the glide. Instead of using the glide switch, I can program the touch bar with the glide. Or maybe I want a sound effect on here, or maybe I want an intro, or maybe I don't want to play a diminished chord. You can actually program on the Royale this to do other chords that are either physically hard to do or just musically are hard to do. Diminished, minors, and seventh. So there are many things you can do with the touch bar. The other fun thing I like to do with the touch bar is a feature called Next Preset. Now, just I can see you, just by a nod. Have you ever seen some of the artists play and kind of wondered how they were able to get these beautiful sounds so quickly? You ever notice that? and or get those sounds and go, wow, I wish I could do it that fast. And a lot of times you don't even see their hands. You know their sounds changing, and you don't see their hands move. You're like, well, how are they doing that? You know, they got to be really fast. Well, there's a feature called Next Preset. This is cool. Now, on the bottom here, there's these little favorite feature buttons. One of them is called Next Preset. And here's what it does. On the screen, it gives me the option. It says Next Preset on the foot switches or the touch bars. And all that means is when I'm playing a style, let's put on, we got some great Latin styles I love in here. Oh, we got salsa, we got mariachi, we got mambo. We'll do a little mambo, something upbeat, okay? But as I'm playing, I want to use these presets. But what I don't want to do is have to reach up all the time. Now, I'm going to reach up a little bit from time to time because I'm using a microphone and I'm playing at the same time so you can see how this works. Keep in mind when you're playing, your hands will be here, okay? And you just reach down and hit a switch, or you can program the kick switches to just do a simple little tap. And I'm going to point it out every time it changes. Listen. I'm going to turn on the feature. So if you notice, all I did is I touched the touch bar and it automatically changed the sound. Listen. Now watch, instead of reaching up and hitting 3, I'm just going to touch the touch bar. Now, when you're playing, you're not going to be holding a microphone in hand telling everybody doing it like this. Your hands would be playing, and you could just reach down. Or maybe I just want to use it on the foot switch. Since it's just a tap, you don't have to hold it, worry about the volume. Watch. So a little trickier when you're holding a microphone trying to demonstrate it, but really the idea is you put that feature on, you tell it touch bars or foot switches, whatever is easy, and as you're playing, you either tap the switch and it'll automatically advance the sound. So you got to see there as I was playing and I pointed, you heard the sound change. You know, one of my favorite features on this model is a feature that I say is foolproof. In other words, you can never sound bad by using this button. Looks like I got your attention. And it takes all of the rhythm styles that you have and the new ones that you don't have, and it makes them do other things, so they make them more enjoyable for a lot longer. And here's what I mean by that. For many years, Lowrey has kept styles on the organs simply because they're great. For some of us have been doing this for 26 years or longer in some cases. There are some styles that you don't hear us use a lot as much unless we're playing on an instrument that has this feature. And here's how it works. I'm going to put on a style that I know for sure is on both the Legacy and the Encore. And just by a nod, when you hear it, just nod, yes, you recognize it or you don't. More than likely, you will recognize it. Sounds familiar? And if you don't recognize it on your organ, you've heard it on the others, which means you have it. Now, when you hear that introduction, again, I'm going way back before your time. That's a Glenn Miller introduction. Do you know who Glenn Miller was by chance? Your grandparents told you who Glenn Miller was, I'm sure. But Glenn Miller, his band was what made his music, his band, his orchestra was great. People fell in love with it. And even to this day, there's still a licensed Glenn Miller orchestra that travels. Well, maybe not now, but last year here in Tucson at the Fox Theater, they had a Glenn Miller orchestra. I don't know if you remember that, Carol. That was touring. But there's one problem with this style. When you listen to this, it's really intended for the song In the Mood. So if I play In the Mood, listen carefully for the subtle slide trombone little fills. Listen. Okay, you hear that? That's perfect. Now, I can play other songs with that. And sometimes you can't tell those fills are there. What I don't like happening is when I play a song, another big band song, and it sounds like I'm playing In the Mood in the other big band song, and it kind of clashes a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've had that actually happen where I played on one of the organs that didn't have an altar style, and I played String of Pearls, which kind of sounds... Okay, you know, it's a great song. And I had that style on, and I didn't have this button I'm going to tell you about, and people actually said, "Well, that's great. That was a great In the Mood." I said, "No, I was playing String of Pearls," but they heard the fills, and they thought it was In the Mood. Well, now there's a new feature here called altar style. And here's what's great about this. Any style that you have, you push altar style, and it'll magically transform your band to a totally different arrangement that will work for the same songs you're playing. Listen, here is the same style. You hear all that? Now I'm going to push altar style. Now listen. Totally different. So we take that same style, I'll do String of Pearls now, watch. So it's really cool. You can take any style and do that with. So what I'm going to do is I'll show off a couple other styles. These are styles that you should have on your organ that would totally change the way your music sounds. So for example, I'll put on again another style here. This one's called New York Swing, which is great as it is. And then when I'm ready, I'm just going to push altar style and watch what happens to the band. the altar style. Watch. Oh, thank you. Hold the applause, please. Stop it. Stop it. I just so what's really cool is that any style you play. Now here's what that really means. On the Lowrey, actually both the Legacy and the Encore, they have a total of, I know the Legacy has about 72 rhythm styles on it. The Encore has 1, 2, 3, 4, almost the same amount of styles, pretty close to that. I think it's like 60 something, or if it's not, it's somewhere in that range. This instrument, because it has the full 24 button panel, just like all the flagship models, times all the variations equals 168 different style choices. We're talking every style you can imagine. But here's what that also means. If anytime I'm playing, I hit alter style and it never sounds bad. It always sounds good. It's foolproof. You basically double the amount of styles you have. It's like having, I'm not good at math, 168 times 2 is a lot. Like mucho a lot. And so if you ever see me reaching up occasionally, pushing that, it's because I don't know what else to do and I want it to sound different. And I go, oh, I'm going to panic and push alter style, and it changes the mood. And believe it or not, many of the staff members, when they're playing, they do the same thing. They just don't always tell you. So I see Andrew on here. I bet you he uses the alter style a lot to sound better, and he just doesn't tell you. That's his big secret. I just gave away your big secret, Andrew. But onward to some other great new styles that also feature some of the new sounds. Now, by the way, I did mention the touchscreen. This touchscreen is very informative. In fact, if I gave you a 3x5 index card and told you to write down the words touch and scroll, you can eliminate the use of probably a 150-page owner's manual, because if you just learn touch and scroll, this becomes your owner's manual at your fingertips. Now, there is a thick book that comes that's printed that you can go in every page. But what I found on this model is because the screen is a touchscreen interactive. Now, I don't know if you could see it from there. Let me see how close I can get. The lighting is such that you can't see it. Well, what happens is the screen, whenever I'm using it, it tells me all of the letters, all the sounds that are in it. But it also has a few other things in here. First of all, it has what's called a Genius button. Now, have you ever noticed these buttons over here? On your organ, you have a button that says Genius. You ever notice they're flashing sometimes? They have one on the Encore, I believe on the orchestral and the solo, and on the Legacy there's, I can't remember how many, but there's a Genius button here. What a Genius button is, it's like a wild card in cards. What can you do with a wild card in cards? You can make it anything you want, right? So the Genius button on the Lowrey organs is more sounds than what you have on the dashboard. The larger the model, not in size, but in features and sounds, the more sounds you get. This instrument has double, almost triple the amount of sounds than both the Encore and the Legacy combined. And what happens is you can touch and scroll through all of the sounds in there. But here's where I'm headed with this. If I'm using a rhythm and I see these Genius buttons there, I don't know what's there until I press it, right? Well, on here, on the screen, if I just touch Genius, it'll actually tell me every sound that's programmed in here, and I never have to guess. And I don't mess up with the setting. So the touchscreen is extremely interactive, and it feeds you, it talks to you basically. Now, it doesn't actually say, hey, you, but there is a voice for that that says, hey. But if you touch it, like right now, I have a march, and it says trombone, piccolo, cornet, bells. Let me pick a different rhythm, waltz. It says oboe, strings, bells, oboe, and horns. It always tells me the sound that's in there. The other beautiful thing about this is the song setup. Because there's 500 song setups, it lists 4 songs on a page, and it goes so super fast. So if I want to go up to M's, I'm already at the M's that quickly. If I want to play a song like Alley Cat, I can go to back down to the A, and boom, I'm there very quickly. The other thing that it does is there's a thing called keypad. In the owner's manual, it has a list of every sound that the instrument has, and there's a keypad, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 0. You could actually dial in the sound instead of having a scroll. So for example, if I dial 1, I know I'm going to get a piano. If I dial 232, see what I get. I think I get a brass. So it's a fast way of getting sounds. The last thing students like to do is have to try to spend time finding good sounds. And by the use of the presets and the screen speaking to us, it gives you all the sounds automatically. You get to do more of this and less of trying to do, and making this face. You know, you all make that face when you're trying to figure out stuff on the organ, right? What do I do now? How did Robert get that fancy sound at the organ when he played it? Well, I'm giving away all my tricks. Alter style, Genius sound at the list, touch of my fingertips. This right here, this custom button, it tells me all the sounds on the screen. That is our secret weapon. Every student that has a feature uses that. I would bet almost anything that'd be the one button that is used the most. Now, some of the other styles that I absolutely love, I played some Latin music for you. I played some swing. I played some Dixieland, some ballad. This, I'm going to go to the swing category. And we have some swing styles on here that are just absolutely gorgeous. This one here sounds like it's titled. It's called Dinner and Dance. So you can imagine an elegant dinner with an elegant dance. And you just imagine this real nice slow swing standards. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, really just gorgeous styles. Now, do you happen to know the name Liberace by chance? Your parents may have told you about that person too. You know, Liberace is one of those that people either like him or they don't because of who he was. But there was one unmistakably characteristic about him, and that was his music styling was just absolutely phenomenal. The way he could play and the use of his orchestra, He wasn't just flamboyant, he actually could play really well. In fact, on this instrument, they put two styles of music dedicated to Liberace's styling and orchestration, and they're two totally different ones. And they're easy to find because one of them is called Mr. Showman, and I'll play a little bit of that for you. And just listen to the styling. It's like having Liberace accompany you while you play. I'm sure his hands didn't really look like that. They were actually playing the notes. Isn't that great? And there's another one here. When I saw this for the first time, I thought, oh, that's a Liberace. It's called Candelabra. But when you hear this, you're going to actually picture him with that orchestra that was absolutely magnificent. Thank you. Well, I actually exercise a little bit on that because I'm doing all of this. Absolutely fun. Now, some of you are familiar with a feature called Golden Harp. Yes? Do you have a golden harp on your instrument, Carol? Is there a golden harp on the encore over there? I believe there is. Golden harp? Carol, you have a golden harp button on yours? You do, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's two of them on the Legacy. Okay? And typically they're over to the right-hand side. All right? Now, the Aria, the most expensive organ ever made, which came out 2-3 years ago, we retailed it for just a hair under $87,000. I know it might be pocket change for you, but for me, that's a lot of money. You know how many golden harps the Aria had? 8 different patterns. You can't really go outside that because then it just gets ridiculous. There were 8 different patterns that represent, one goes up and down, like you guys have. One goes up, and then there was several others. There was one that went down, which is a pattern would work. There was one called Virtuoso. Virtuoso kind of goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and works the way back. And there was 4 others. On the Royale, it has the same 8 golden harps on it as that $89,000, $87,000 Aria. Now, here's an example. I'm going to put on just a simple easy button with a nice chord. Turn it down a little bit here. And I'm going to push my golden harps. And here's the one that most organs have. It's going up and down. Okay? That's a very common one. Another common one is up only. So it goes up. It's a beautiful arpeggio. And to put it in perspective, you'd have to play those notes and then play a melody. And believe it or not, there are actually artists out there that can play like that. They can do that left hand. Marco Mendez, for example, child prodigy, he can do that and then play a melody with it. Down only. And now, of course, there's some other ones here. There's one called guitar pattern. Now, this isn't a guitar sound. It's the pattern a guitar player would pick the guitar notes. Now, you can make it any sound you want on here. You actually have a button where you can turn that into bells. You can turn it into guitars, whatever. Yeah, listen. So here's a guitar. Oh, here's the skip pattern. Let me show you that one real quick. Okay. Now, if I want, there's a Genius button next to it. When I press it, it turned it into bells. So if you ever heard those sounds coming out and wondered, how are they doing that? They're not doing anything fancy. They're just pushing a button. Here's the guitar pattern. Step pattern. My favorite one that I use a lot. If you ever hear me play and you hear this, you'll catch on to it now. Listen. What's great is you notice I'm playing without a rhythm. I'll use these different patterns, and then I'll do things like this. I'll increase the tempo. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now watch. That sounded pretty good. Now here's, when I do that, people are baffled to know I was actually had the tempo at 151. You would not play Somewhere Over the Rainbow at 151. You play it at 75. But when I'm not using a rhythm and I'm using these golden harps, you can put the tempo at whatever speed you want, and guess what? You play it at any speed you want because there's no count that you have to worry about. So as you heard it, when I was playing, the harp was going up on it, doing its own thing. I played the melody how I felt it should sound in my head. Just some really cool things. Now, I've got two more styles I want to play for you. The one that I do want to play is in the waltz. Because waltzes are misunderstood. You either love them or you don't. And sometimes people don't like waltzes because they get a little too pa-pa. You know, if you want to play songs like Silver Bells, in Christmas music, there's a lot of waltzes that are written in 3/4. Silver Bells, Silent Night, songs like that. I don't want it to sound like this. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I mean, all right, it's just a little. Waltzes have always been, depending on the style, have always had that pa-pa. Well, there are some new styles on here that I fell in love with. One of them is called Bojangles, and the other is called Lullaby. Let me pull it up here. There it is. This is great for Christmas and holiday music. Watch. as we're playing, I'm going to reach up and hit the altar style and catch it. Thank you. Please hold the applause, hold the applause, hold the applause. I have one more I'm going to play for you. Before I do, I do want to share some wonderful news and opportunity. I know some of you may be joining our classes or Zoom musicals and what have you. And over the course, let's see, what's today? Monday, Friday, about 10 days ago or so, we announced one of our biggest sales in history. And, you know, we wanted to do something that wasn't like your typical retailer. You know, every weekend I get the newspaper, I look it up. There's always a sale, one of the biggest sales forever. The Sears that were in our mall here, they were closing. And it was a go now before we're closing. And by golly, they were closing for like 6 months before they actually closed. They remained open as long as they could until the malls said, we're closing. But we wanted to do something a little bit different because these are not normal times. And we figure we want to do a sale that's not normal. So we're going to do things that are not normal. And we're going to, because one of the things that we've found out is very quickly over the last few months that as the world's changed over the last few months, it's never going to be, you know, as great as having someone, you know, when I do a class, I love having 5 people here that I can, you know, pick on. You know, when Carol's here, I get to pick on her. Carol's a student here at the Tucson, and, you know, hugs and things like that. And, you know, but if we're forced in a situation, we have to turn lemon into lemonade. And when I started this endeavor of online classes and what I had no idea the kind of positive feedback I was going to get from all the students. And I actually had to start deleting some emails out of my email box because I was saving them of all of the positive feedback. And pretty soon I realized I had so many. So what I did is I copy and pasted into something else. But it's very apparent that music, having music in our lives, especially now, is very important. And to keep that into our students' homes as much as possible is very important. And the way to keep doing that is we have to run our business, but we just got to do it differently. And so we figured instead of doing your typical sale where we, you know, announce everything is blah, blah, blah off, we decided to take 10, there's like over 30 different organ types that we have in stock. In my store here, when I started this a few months ago, I made sure I had at least one organ of each different type in the store, in case I wanted to teach a class or what have you. I've got about 50 organs in here. So rather than doing a sale on 50 models throughout our company, we decided to take 10 of the best instruments that represented the best values over the years and take all of our savings, and instead of spreading it out amongst 200 organs throughout inventory, put them into 10 different models at all different price points. So we have from Easy 4s to Legacies to Premiers, Odysseys, you name it. We picked one instrument that represented, and we decided to put all of our discounts into those models. So we chose Royale as one of those, and it was very quickly, when I started demonstrating this today, you don't see my face all the time, but I'm sitting there going, wow, I forgot how much fun and exciting this instrument is. and the innovations that were introduced in this model that paved the way for the Lowrey models since 2001 even has been phenomenal. So what I'm going to encourage you to do before I play my last song here, I just want to make sure I'm going to encourage you to reach out to your staff member right away, your local store, and ask them, what is that special that Robert was talking about? Because I'm going to tell you, you are going to be amazed and surprised at how phenomenal our opportunities are in this instruments, and it's particularly the ones we have on the list here. With that said, I'm going to finish off with a style here. I'm going to cheat a little bit because my fingers aren't fast enough. Are you familiar with the song, is it the William Tell Overture? Isn't that the one that they did in the Lone Ranger? The High-O Silver? You know, I joined Fletcher Music Centers when I was 21. That was in 1993, so do the math. I'll be 49 this year. 48, 49? I stopped counting. You can't stop counting. Up until when I started the 21, I always thought it was the High-O Silver song. Because that's what I watched the shows. And I remember when I first started, someone was playing it. Hey, that's the Lone Ranger High-O Silver songs. No, that's the William Tell Over. No, it's not. And I was wrong. But what's great about that song, if you play it right, if you see someone play it right, should I say, you'll be amazed at their fingers. I can't do it, but I'm going to try. They rotate their fingers, the three notes, like they rotate them, and it does the stutter effect that does. You can imagine the way your fingers have to play to do that. I've never been able to do that. This style, when you hear it, the way the guitars are playing in the background, if you just hold the note, because of the guitars playing in the background, it almost fools the ear, making it sound like you're actually playing those notes. So that's how I'm going to play it. Listen. And even if it doesn't come out exactly the way it is, you're going to sound great in the beginning and the end. That was a built-in applause there, right? Isn't that great? So this is the Lowrey Royale, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this demonstration. Thank you for attending. Let me just say a quick, mute you there, mute you. Carol, did you enjoy? See if you can find the unmute button.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, you did it. You got through the whole session. We've been working with Carol for the last week here. We got her on. And I got to see you the whole time, smiling the whole time. Dee and Vincent, did you enjoy my presentation? Thank you. Oh, you got you got another participant. What kind of help?
It's raining here, so she's scared of rain.
Oh, okay. Did she like my music? Was it okay?
Oh, yeah.
Move your head around if you liked it. Okay, she's moving. Is it he or she? She loved it. Well, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed. If you don't call them, they'll be calling you. So toodaloo, and I always like to do a farewell like this.
Bye.